I have featured quite a few MSI motherboards across this channel, but this new one from MSI, the Z890 Carbon, is really different. The last MSI Intel board I featured was a B760 Tomahawk, and the last Carbon had a Z690 chipset. How time flies! So, how is this board different? It all first begins with this box. Check out this new design. So, let's take a look at what's inside. Okay, so the first thing you may notice besides the board is this thing. This contains a Wi-Fi 7 antenna. It is one antenna with a very big base. The base is magnetic, which is good, and it easily goes into the motherboard. Every board manufacturer likes to use the letters E and Z now for their motherboards. There are also the usual stickers, quick install guide, a European regulatory notice, and a shout out card from MSI. So I'm going to put this one side. This is a two-way RGB splitter/extension cable. This is an ARGB extension cable, a pair of SATA cables. This is the standard flat one, this is the angled one. This is a USB drive, which I think contains most of the drivers as well as BIOS that you will need to get this board up and running. Yep, this is a very easy clip for your SSDs, M.2 slots. This is the easy front connector for your front panel connectors. This is where all your front panel leads go into. And this is where you connect to the front panel connector on your motherboard. Trust me, it's going to be very convenient if you use this for your motherboard. This is the tool or screwdriver to remove the easy clips. This is used when you are using the shorter 2260 or the longer 22100 SSDs on your motherboard. You have to use this screwdriver to remove the screws and attach them according to where you need for your SSDs. And lastly, this is what MSI calls the Easy Con cable, or I think Easy Connector cable. I will talk about this in a later part of the video, so do stay tuned. MSI's Carbon boards, in my opinion, are some of the best looking boards, at least in the MSI lineup. The black carbon fiber design coupled with the glowing I/O area is always very welcome. This Z890 iteration also stands out with simple artwork on the VRM heatsinks, CPU socket cover, and the M.2 heat shields. I believe the dragon and the word carbon will glow and change colors when this board is powered on. But as of the time of filming, I don't have the CPU to turn on this motherboard, so I can't show you that. But you can see from the box. And even with all these things going on, Carbon isn't actually very heavy. Anyway, as a Z890 motherboard, I believe it differs from the Z790 based on the inclusion of the Thunderbolt 4 ports, as well as the upgrade in the PCIe and M.2 slots. So you can see these two ports, these are Thunderbolt 4 USB Type-C ports. You will have to get the Type-C to display port if you want to make use of the integrated graphics on the Intel CPU. If not, there is always HDMI. And like the AMD X870 counterparts, these mid to high-end Intel Z890 boards come with a lot of USB ports. Like a lot of them. On the back, there are 10 Type-A ports. The top two are from the chipset, and one of them is used to flash your BIOS. There is also one more standard Type-C 10GB port at the back. For the front, there is a standard Type-C with 27 watts power delivery. You can fast charge your USB devices such as your phones or tablets using this port. There are two more USB 5GB and two more USB 2 connectors on this board, giving you access to 4 more ports each. These 3 connectors are right-angled. I feel it is a hit or miss with these right-angled connectors. Your cables will look very nice and tucked away behind the chipset cover area, but it may be more difficult to plug in where the board is inside a case, because you don't have much room for the cables to play around. But anyways, back to the USB ports. Not counting usable connections, this board has 18 USB ports. Wow, wow. Okay, let's continue. Let's go back to the back I/O. There are more stuff going on. Okay, these 3 buttons, they are so close to each other, I'm just going to call them the button bros. From the left, this is the flash BIOS button. The next one is to clear your CMOS, aka reset your BIOS. And this on the right is MSI's smart button. This button can do things such as turn on and off the LEDs on this board, and it also allows you to boot into safe mode. There are other functions which you can change to in the BIOS. Next to the button bros, there are 2 LAN ports. One is a 2.5G and the other is a 5G. It is not a 10G yet, but seems like we are putting more workstation elements in gaming motherboard. Who knows what will happen in the future. Next, there are the connectors for your Wi-Fi antenna and the standard audio ports. Unfortunately, as mentioned, because I don't have the new Intel Core Ultra CPUs, I can't show you what's inside the BIOS. But at least I can show you how the new CPU sockets look like. This is the new LGA 1851 socket. This socket only supports Core Ultra CPUs such as the Core Ultra 9 285K. You can see that the pin layout is totally different, so please do not put any of the Intel 14 Gen, 13 Gen or other CPUs inside this socket. It will not work and you may even damage any of these pins inside this socket. Next up, supported memory. These 4 slots enable you to put up to 256 gigs of RAM. I don't know where you're going to find 4 sticks of 64 gigs of DDR5 RAM, but you can do so with this board. And these new Intel boards also support the soon-to-be-released clock UDIMMs or CUDIMMs memory. They are rumored to have higher clock speeds than the standard UDIMMs, but are also more stable. That is something cool to look out for in this latter half of 2024. I'm going to bring out this pair of King Bank RAM again. This is 32 gigs of DDR5. According to them, they are more suited for Intel platforms, so this is very convenient. Yeah, nice. Now for the part you are all be waiting for. How is this board truly different? I'm not sure if you have noticed, but the CPU power connectors have swapped positions. It is on the right now, and where it once was lies a system fan connector. I'm not sure if this is an electrical design or physical design, but our guess is due to the bigger surface area of the back I/O, there's probably less space to squeeze the 2 connectors in. It could also be a design choice by MSI. Who knows? Only they know. Anyway, because of that, the CPU fan and pump headers are now on the top right corner. The debug LEDs and digital readouts are shifted down. On a side note, I'm not sure if this will affect the cable management for your CPU coolers. The leads may not be long enough to go behind the board and around to the connectors, so you may have to keep all of the wires on the outside of the board. At least the power cables from your power supply do not need to travel such a long distance now, but you will have to roll them up in the back of the case. And from what I see, it's also on a Z890 Tomahawk, Ace, as well as the Unify X. This may be MSI's new board design for Intel going forward, but we'll have to wait and see. So what other connections do we have? There are 4 more fan headers, 1 below the pump header, this one, and 3 at the bottom. 1, 2, 3. For the fancy lights, there are 3 ARGB. One of them is this one, and 2 more are at the bottom. One here, the other one is over here. Very varying positions for the ARGB. Next to this ARGB, we also have 1 RGB, 4 pins over here. I can't seem to find the CMOS battery on this board, but should you ever need to clear the CMOS besides using the CMOS button, the CMOS jumper is over here, this too. And you can attach a flow meter over on this white one. This is called the water flow header to monitor your water flow rate in your cooling system. This switch allows you to turn off and on all of the LEDs on this board. It is tied to the smart button at the back I/O. So if this guy is set to off, the smart button, if it's set to also turn off and on the LEDs on this board, will not work. Notable mentions are this and this one, I'll show later. For this, remember the EasyCon cable. With this one cable and this port, you can now control all of the ARGB and RGB and USB 2.0 devices. This works pretty well with MSI's EZ120 fans, those magnetic ones, and I believe it should also work with your other fans such as the intake fans or even coolers that require a USB 2.0 connection. And this one, my people, is a Thunderbolt 5 header on your motherboard. Yes, you can finally have Thunderbolt 5 on a motherboard. Besides the Thunderbolt 4 ports, you can insert a discrete Thunderbolt expansion card on this slot and you can access to Thunderbolt 5 expansion ports on your motherboard. Since we are talking about PCI slots, I did mention that there is an upgrade over Z790. Now you have more Gen 5 slots on this Z8 board. This one, first one with the armor is 5.0x16 as per usual. This is now a 5.0x8 and this is a 4.0x4. So it's definitely a big upgrade over the previous Z790 boards. There are definitely different bifurcation configurations on this board, but I'm not going to talk about it in this video. If you ever get this board, you can check out the manual to know what kind of different bifurcation configurations you're going to get if you populate all these 3 slots. Okay, so I'm going to show you how MSI deals with the securing of your graphics cards. MSI calls it the Easy PCI Release button. When it's depressed, it means that the PCI slot is unlocked, and when it's unpressed, the PCI slot is lock. And the manual says you need to lock the slot first before you insert your GPU. So I'm just going to follow it. It does feel very, very secure. Compared to the other one, this one feels extra secure because I know that this button is locking the entire PCIe slot. So to remove the GPU, just depress the button to the unlock position and pull the GPU away from you. Yep. It does feel a bit counterintuitive to me. When it's unpressed, it feels to me it's unlocked. When it's depressed, then it feels locked to me. I don't know why MSI chose to do the counter version of this, but that is them. I think it makes more sense to me that I don't lock the slot first. I insert the GPU, then I lock the slot. It makes more sense to me. So you can either follow the manual or you can follow what works best for you. One more thing about the slots. One big thing actually, even on gaming motherboards, we see the inclusion of an 8-pin power connector. This may herald how much power the future GPUs may actually eat. If you plan to use this board or you plan to use whatever GPUs that comes sticks in the future, you have to plug in an additional 8-pin power in this connector. I'm not looking forward to know how much power the next gen GPUs will actually consume, but this is a very clear sign that the PCIe slots and whatever power connectors the graphics cards have may not be enough when the GPU is on heavy loads. Okay, we are done with the PCIe slots, and we also have to talk about their counterparts, the M.2 slots. Forget to mention that 4 SATA ports over here. Going back to the M.2 slots, you can see that these 2 heatsinks are very toolless. How to remove the heatsinks? This metal tab over here, just depress it and pull the heatsink away from you. This first one is a 5.0 X4. Let me take out this one also. Press this lever here, press it and pull it from you. So we see 4 more M.2 slots over here, 5.0 X4. These 4 are 4.0 X4. If you want to have the best performance for your GPUs and your M.2 slots, use these 2. Let me also show you how to install the SSD. Also very, very simple. So this is MSI's Easy Clip 2, very fancy name for M.2 locker. You can see I've already installed one here. Pull this away from you and the thing will come out. So yeah, how to install it? As per usual, plug this guy in. 2 ways. You can be forceful about it, just press it down and lock into place. And the other one will be press it down, pull it away from you and lock it in. The slots 2 to 5 use the same Easy 2 locker. But the first one, it uses the more old school kind of turnstile thing. Install it as per usual. Rotate the turnstile first and make sure that it's not depressed and lock it into position. There are films on every of these thermal pads. Make sure to remove them before installing SSDs, and that also applies to the thermal pads on the heatsinks. Make sure to remove all this before officially turning on your computer, because this will definitely affect the temperatures of your SSDs. I did also mention about the special screwdriver, Easy Clip 2 screwdriver thingy. That is if you have a 2260, the shorter one, or 22110 longer SSD. So if you want to use that, you have to first unscrew this screw over here, then use the screwdriver to remove this and move it to the appropriate location. So how do you put back the heatsinks? Very simple. For this Gen 5 one, you can see that there are notches over here. So these align with this, I call them the prongs. There's this key here and the connector is over here. So just align it downwards and press it. Same applies to the one on the bottom. There is a notch over here, the prongs here. So align it, follow the shape of the thing and depress it. Everything is so simple these days, everything is so toolless. It just feels like Lego these days. First thoughts. This is a very, very cool board. As I mentioned before, the carbons are very nice looking, very thoughtful design with the toolless entry and a lot of USB ports. I'm not sure if you like so many USB ports, but MSI and the other board manufacturers are going in that direction. Hopefully, I would be able to receive a Core Ultra CPU to power on this board, because I think the BIOS is going to be very new. I would like to see what's inside the new BIOS. If you like this video, make sure to smash the like button and make sure to come back to my channel for more Z890 content.